Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully, you're enjoying your morning, enjoying your weekend. If not, I'm gonna try to, take your mind off of things for a few moments. As you probably learned from the last episode, if you didn't catch it, I usually record my podcast and then put it out there for all of you. But I'm switching over to kind of just coming live and having that interaction with you all. Definitely very important. So that's what we're gonna do. It's something new. It's, I guess, the next step for Chompin at the bit, as well as, I guess, to kind of bring in as well. If you haven't been checking out the FIFA videos and the career mode and everything, been having a lot of fun with that over on Twitch as well as YouTube. I know you can find my links and everything in my bio and all that. So make sure you check those out. We'll probably have the next episode in the career mode some point today or tomorrow. But got a lot to get into. A lot's been going on in sports, and I guess that might be kind of the challenge as well, doing these like once a week now. So much is going on, even though it should be kind of a dead point in sports as we're so close to football. Basketball still ways away. Summer league's over. Baseball's kind of in the spotlight right now, which I will get into later on. But let's just go ahead, get into it. If you're tuning in, make sure you say what's up, whatever. Let me know where you're watching from. It's all good. Just let me know you're here so I can say, hey, what's up back to you. But let's go ahead and get into the first story. Saquon Barkley. So Giants slapped the franchise tag on him. Decides he's not happy with it. Goes on this kind of media tour telling people how, he throws out there he could sit out, trying to get more, whatever. Well, the next part of the story was he had an epiphany, apparently, which led to him, I guess, getting some incentives added to the franchise tag and then signing it or whatever. If you remember, talked about it on Pre-Gaming Pigskin over at Sports Empire Network, where I am a contributor, I guess you'd say. Basically equates to about 900,000 or a little bit around that area more that he got from this holdout or whatever. So as he put it, the epiphany was, playing football is what he loves to do. He had to decide between sitting out, sitting in, whatever. The epiphany led to him signing with the Giants. I mean, it's all well and good because I feel like for the Giants, they're obviously going to be happy that, he's in camp, will be playing this year. But now the question is going to be, are we going to go through this again next season? I don't think there's going to be some magical market correction that's going to tip into the running back's favor next season. And plus, I guess maybe what might be the biggest factor in that for the Giants is going to be the success of their season as well as the success Saquon Barkley has on the field. Like if he struggles, the team struggles, then yeah, it's going to be a struggle for him next season. If the team's successful and he's a major part of that like he was last year, maybe it will all work out in the end for him. But I think it's going to be interesting because, looking at camp and everything, it seems like a lot of people are really encouraged by what Darren Waller could bring to the team. That if we see Daniel Jones all of a sudden start throwing the football all over the place, Barkley production goes down, then he's kind of going to be feeding into what the perceived narrative is with the NFL and these running backs, is that no sense in just having one primary guy. You spread it out amongst a couple of people at the position and you'll be fine. But look, shout out to Saquon for like I said, I'm assuming by him signing the franchise tag and the incentives that were added, he's happy with this situation. So I guess that's the only thing in this story we really need to pay attention to and applaud. He's back at work, and for the Giants, I'm sure they're loving it because whatever success they were planning on having this season had to be tied to Saquon being in the backfield. But, throughout the whole NFL season, this is definitely something I'll be monitoring, and we'll keep you updated with how Saquon's going. So next, to switch over to the other football, the U.S. Women's National Team. They started off their World Cup march to the three-peat with a win over Vietnam that, a lot of fans are kind of hesitant to necessarily give them a lot of credit for because Vietnam, with it being their first time in the Women's World Cup, most people assumed that the U.S. was going to, beat them 8-9, whatever. No. They won 3-0. Vietnam, tried to play physical with them, whatever. They still got the win. They got the 3 points. That's what mattered. But, looking at the Netherlands game, which was this past week, we knew that was going to be the toughest matchup in their group. So if you don't know, their group is Vietnam, Netherlands, Portugal. We'll talk about here in a second. The U.S. went up against the Netherlands for a good portion of that game. You could argue that the Netherlands might have been the better team. The Netherlands got their goal. We're up 1-0, and it looked like they were probably going to take the win. I give the U.S. a lot of credit for getting an equalizer and getting the draw, because with that, they stay atop the group. But there were some concerns with that matchup because the Netherlands was obviously a step up in competition versus Vietnam. U.S., like I said, seemed to struggle a lot with the Netherlands. I mean, we have to give the Netherlands credit here. They're a very good side. They are a team that I mentioned before the World Cup as a team that I could see possibly getting in the U.S.'s way. And who knows, maybe they could even win the whole thing. But I think the spotlight has been put on the coach as well as the roster creation. Well, not creation, but the roster building. A lot of concerns have been put towards the U.S.'s attack, which I get it because the only, I guess, true striker that you have is Alex Morgan. And with Alex Morgan, yes, she's a very talented player, but you usually would see teams bring in multiple strikers because if you sub her out, what are you going to do? And I do think that this U.S. group being so young, while having young pieces along with some of the veterans that are sprinkled in, they're still trying to find their way in terms of playing together on this type of stage. So I wouldn't necessarily go overboard worrying about it right now, but it is something to definitely pay attention to as they're coming up on their third game in the group with a lot on the line. Because like I said, right now in the group, the U.S. are atop the group with 4 points. Netherlands are second with 4 points because of goal differential. Portugal, who the U.S. will see next, are in third with 3 points, and then Vietnam. Well, Vietnam's been eliminated because they don't have any points yet, with only one game to go. So Portugal's going to go into that game against the U.S. looking at it from the Vietnam perspective, being another team that's, I believe it's their first time in the World Cup. They saw what Vietnam could do to slow down the U.S. attack, be physical with them. Portugal can try that. Then Portugal can take from the Netherlands game where the Netherlands were really good knocking the ball around, getting players up front, and building that way. I think Portugal's going to be a difficult matchup because they don't have anything to lose. They can kind of just throw everything, caution to the wind, and hope that the pressure on the U.S. maybe gets to them If Portugal can get an early goal, I want to see how the U.S. respond to that with their backs against the wall. I do think the U.S. end up getting a win here and then moving through, but it's going to be something to watch, especially getting into the knockout stage where the competition definitely gets ratcheted up. How will this U.S. team deal with some of the powers that are out there waiting for them? They haven't gone up against a France yet, or a Germany, or one of these teams that really thinks they can win this. And like I said, I want to see how the U.S. can deal with them. But of course, Portugal is the next step. They got to get a win there, or I mean, if they get a point, they'll move on. But for the U.S., it's about winning the group. That's the expectation. That's what I think the players' expectations are. So we'll see if they can get it done. Sticking with soccer, football world, Lio Messi. Like, if you have not been paying attention to the MLS, I guess I understand it. Not everybody's a soccer fan or whatever, but I'm loving what I'm seeing from Messi and my New England Revolution, of course. But like, Messi has hit the ground running. He's the biggest draw right now, and obviously there's a reason why. He's the biggest name in the league for sure, but he's come in. It's not like he's just coming in kind of, going through the motion, looking like he doesn't want to be there or anything. Like, he looks like he's having fun. As you can see in this picture, this is from his first game when late, I think it was like the 88th, 89th minute. He had the opportunity with a free kick just outside the box, and he did what we've seen Messi do Barcelona, Argentina, wherever he's been. Just class with his approach, put it up for 90, scored the goal, gave Inter Miami the win. And, the hype around Inter Miami right now is high. I think for MLS, this is going to be a big thing for them, capitalizing on this, bringing more eyeballs to the league. It can only work out in their favor as long as they, continue to push Messi, as long as Messi continues to play well. I mean, now that I'm saying that, like, I wonder where. I know Inter Miami was kind of at the basement before he got there, and I wonder have they moved out of the basement since he's gotten there. I don't think they've lost yet. So let me look at that real quick. So Inter Miami finds themselves. Okay, they're still in the basement. Well, I guess because one of the games he played was Leagues Cup, where they beat Atlanta United, I think. Yeah, they're still kind of mired in the basement of the Eastern Conference, and they have a lot of work to do. They're about what? They're 12 points behind DC United, but there's still some games to go. So for right now, it's definitely working out for both. Might take a few games before people kind of look at Messi and be like, why are you in MLS? But he looks like he's having a good time right now. So I'm not going to really, get on him about that or anything. But it's just good to see him in the MLS. I'm happy as ever that, yes, he's an older player, but he still has good years in him. Some of the previous signings like Ibrahimovic or something like that, it's been viewed as, yeah, it's just a guy trying to get one last contract out of their career. Messi could have gone back to Barcelona and would have been a major contributor there. He chose to go to MLS. That has to count for something. Once again, sticking with really great players around the world, a lot of people are paying attention to Mbappe right now. He's at PSG, yes, but he's kind of expressed his desire to move on from them once his contract's up. I believe this would be his final season with PSG. So PSG obviously to get something back without him going away for free, they'd like to make a decision in terms of the transfer window and all that this summer. I think for all intents and purposes, most people kind of have him connected with Real Madrid. Real Madrid's been after Mbappe for so long that you just figure that at some point they're going to get him. Well, there's a new challenger, Saudi Arabia. Once again, we've seen this recent years. If there's a big name out there that's available, Saudi Arabia is getting involved. Obviously the biggest name was Ronaldo, and Ronaldo has continued to stay over there, even though Ronaldo said, I guess the Saudi league's better than MLS, which seems debatable to me, but I don't really watch a lot of Saudi league, so I don't want to bad talk it without actually watching the product. But for Mbappe, Saudi Arabia, I believe, is throwing like 400 million or something at him to go play over there. I think for Mbappe's situation, yes, the money is definitely enticing. But I just feel like Mbappe needs to be in a competitive league, which has been kind of my problem with him at PSG, because the French league is basically PSG's little playground until they get the Champions League. So for me, selfishly, I would love to see Mbappe, Premier League or La Liga. So if he goes to Real Madrid, I'd be perfectly fine with that. If he found himself in the Premier League, I feel like that would be very interesting to see. But if he were to end up next season in Saudi Arabia, it kind of seemed like a wasted year to me. Once again, I don't want to overly criticize the Saudi league because, like I said, I just don't watch it because, well, I guess one, I wouldn't know where to find it, but two, really no reason for me to pay attention to the Saudi league. Now, of course, if they keep bringing in signings of the Ronaldos, of the Mbappes like that, then yeah, it will definitely start getting my attention. And I think it's admirable of them to, try to sway Mbappe over there. The initial reports were that Mbappe isn't really interested in going over there. And I kind of agree with him. He should not want to go over there at this stage in his career. Like, the man is just coming off a great World Cup run with France. He's, been killing it at PSG these past seasons. And he's the hottest player on the free agent market right now. Well, even though he's still under PSG's control, but he's let it be known he wants to leave. So I'm counting him as like a free agent right now. I just don't see what the benefit would be from his side going to play over there. If you disagree, obviously let me know. If you catch this after the fact, you can put it down in the comment section and, we can interact that way. But to me, I think the Mbappe story ends with him at Real Madrid at some point this summer. I just feel like that's probably going to be the best for Mbappe and probably the best for PSG. Well, actually, no. The Saudi Arabia might be best for PSG, but I feel like PSG wants to do what Mbappe wants. So if Mbappe doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, I don't think PSG is going to send him there. But which should mean it's kind of an angle we'll get to a little bit later with a certain other player here in the U.S. Dame Lillard. Look, I have been over the Dame Lillard saga for weeks now, months now, however long it's been. Now the new addition to the story is the league wants he and his agent to stop talking about Miami because that's been his desired destination. That's kind of been the move. Everybody's been waiting to see what does Portland get from Miami, from a third team for Dame Lillard's services. So far, we don't seem to be any closer to Dame Lillard leaving Portland than we were at the beginning of the offseason. They drafted Scoot Henderson, they brought in Jeremy Grant, they have their kind of young core to go forward with, but unfortunately, the Dame Lillard story still overshadows the team, which is why I think Portland needs to hurry up, figure out whatever their best package is, and kind of rip the band-aid off and just move Dame Lillard. You know, I do agree that what Miami's offering isn't enough. You can't tell me that I'm just gonna get Tyler Hero and some picks for him. Nah, Portland needs more assets in terms of players. The draft pick haul should come with it as well. Even though, if you've heard me talk about Dame Lillard, whether I'm here, Sports Empire Network, JJL, Sports Talk, I'm not the biggest Dame Lillard guy. Like, I like him as a player, but I feel like there's been some type of like overrated view of him. Like, it's only because he's been in Portland why he hasn't been contending. I'm just not buying into that. I think for Dame Lillard, with his height, kind of his skill set, I just don't know that he can be the best player on a championship winning team. Now, he's getting paid like a guy who should affect winning a lot more than he does. And once again, we're kind of getting to players getting paid in a little bit. But, the thought that a lot of people have as well is that, oh, Miami gets Dame Lillard, they'll be right back in the finals next season. I'm here to tell you I don't see that either. Although for Miami, they kind of have to get this done because looking at their offseason, they've lost some pieces that got them to the finals last year. So imagine that they lose. Well, they lost with Vincent, they lost Strus, and whatever. They come back with a team that you'd have to say is a little worse than last season because of those players that they lost. And then they don't get Dame Lillard to replace any of that production. You'd have to look at Miami's offseason as a big-time L. So for Miami's sake, they want to get it done. But I do agree with Portland's stance that we're not just going to give them away, because they know how the NBA views Lillard as a superstar, even though, like I said, I don't. But they want to capitalize off of that. So the pressure is on Miami to find a third team or whatever it takes to make Portland happy to get this deal done. But that is probably the last you'll hear of me talk about Dame Lillard until he actually gets traded. So that I only talked about it because, like I said, that was something that did make news this week. All right, so now we got to turn to my Boston sports because I am a fan, being that I was born, raised there, even though I do live in the Atlanta area now. Jaylen Brown. A lot of people have been talking about Jaylen Brown. Talking about how, he didn't deserve the money and, all this. Look, yes, he's now the highest paid player in the NBA. Deal with it. It was going to be somebody at some point. Jaylen Brown's coming off of a career year. He's, been on the ascension in terms of stance in the league for the past couple of seasons, to the point where I feel like most people would say he's probably, I don't know, a top 15 player, I kind of agree with them. But this whole narrative that's come about because of his struggles in Game 7 against Miami have been way overblown, not only by fans but these analysts, so-called analysts on TV, and the jokes and everything about, oh, he can't dribble with his left hand. Look, if that's what you think, that's what you think. As somebody who actually watches Celtics basketball, Jaylen Brown is a very good player. But I kind of want to talk about him for reasons outside of that. If you did not catch the press conference, which I'm assuming, unless you're a Celtics fan, you probably didn't. Like, just hearing Jaylen Brown talk, you learn a couple of things about him. Very intelligent, great role model for the organization, and he just gets it. Because during the press conference, he did it with like some kids and stuff from his foundation, which is a very important part to him, because prior to him signing the deal, he was at a community event where he talked about, as long as he's in Boston, he's going to do what he can for the community and all that. I believe he's like building courts for kids and all that kind of stuff. But since he signed it, he's done like Good Morning America or something. He's talked about using the money to better the community, better the city. His quote was, he wants to bring Black Wall Street to Boston. He's looking at ways to bridge the wealth gap between, the races in Boston. And you look around the league, you see some guys who are getting paid a lot, but off the court are a complete mess, or they just show a lot of immaturity. Jaylen Brown's the very opposite. And, because of that, I'm always been a big fan of his and will continue to be a big fan of his. I've wanted him to stay in Boston this whole time, and I'm glad the Celtics got it done. But all of this stuff about him on the court, it's like, that's just one part of the man, Jaylen Brown. So I'm excited to see what he can do, in my city of Boston, with his plans. He says he's getting with like leaders and all this kind of stuff to really make a change in the city. And I loved hearing that from him. So say what you want about him on the court, but his work off the court is going to have a much bigger impact than anything he does on the court. I guess outside of raising Banner 18, which, if that happens, I'm definitely here for it. But I can also realize, it's tough to win. And as long as the Celtics are in contention, I can somewhat be happy with that. But yes, I definitely do want to see them raise a banner. But, shout out to Jaylen Brown with his aspirations, his outlook on the importance that he can use his platform for. Unlike other players, John Morant's to begin with. But actually, I want to look at something really quick, because yes, Jaylen Brown has the highest salary, I believe. Let's see. All right, so I don't know if that list is updated. Well, actually, I believe this new deal kicks in next season. Yeah, I think it kicks in next season, so whatever. But yeah, shout out to Jaylen Brown, and I'm rooting for him to get his plans off the ground and really get them going within the city of Boston. All right, the Red Sox. Got to talk about them as well because if you haven't been paying attention, the Red Sox are the hottest team in baseball right now. They are on a 5-game winning streak. They're the best record in July, as July is coming to a close here. Got a couple of days left so they can keep their month going. They're facing the Giants currently out in San Francisco. But they went from a team that not too long ago was almost like 20 games out of first place in the AL East. They have worked that all the way down to being 7 games behind the Baltimore Orioles, who are now first place in the AL East as the Rays. Remember that hot start by the Rays and them just running away with the division? Yeah, how's that looking? They now find themselves a game and a half behind Baltimore. The Rays are only 4 games up on the Blue Jays and 5.5 ahead of my Boston Red Sox. Now, the Red Sox also did make some news this week by trading away Kike Hernandez, who, was a big part of their team that won the World Series. But this year was a major struggle for him, both at the plate, where his batting average was down in the low 200s. His defense was suffering because he was playing a lot more shortstop, where I think he played it a lot. I think he played shortstop a lot with the Dodgers, but with the Red Sox, he played a lot more center field. Well, unfortunately, as I have pictured here, Jarren Durant's ascension made it so Kike can't really play center field right now. Because, Durant has finally realized the promise that that the organization and fans have been waiting to see with Jarren Durant. He's a guy who's hitting, like 315 at this point. When he gets on base, I think he has 22 stolen bases. His defense in center field has gotten so much better because, it was everybody looked at that play against the Blue Jays when he lost the ball in the lights or whatever, turned into an inside the park home run. That's kind of been the highlight for Jarren Durant's career so far. He's doing so much more. He's showing power. He's obviously had the speed all along, but Jarren Durant's gotten to the point where he needs to play basically every day. So if Kike Hernandez can't play center field and he's struggling so much at shortstop, there was really no reason to keep him. So they sent him back out to LA, which I feel like was the right move to make. But right now, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Red Sox. They're, the pitching, I think they probably need to bring in a pitcher during this trade deadline. Not really sure who at this point they can get, but I would love to see them get somebody. The rotation, you have Brian Bayo, who's kind of looking like a future ace. Paxton has been solid. Cutter Crawford, who started last night, he's been solid as well in whatever role, as a spot starter, as a long reliever. He's kind of been one of the key factors for this team. But until they get, Garrett Whitlock back, or Chris Sale seems like, I don't even know when he's expected to come back. I think Tanner Houck's even injured right now. So until they can get those 3 back, yes, they're on a good run right now with the pitching, but the worry is going to be like, when does the bubble burst and then pitching really becomes an issue? So yeah, like I said, I'm loving what I'm seeing from them. They're currently 56-47. Once again, before the season, I believe their over-under on wins was like 76, 78 or something. I told you then, they're going to get the over. I even threw out there 86 wins. looking at their current pace, at 56 and 47, they'd have to go with 30 and 15 the rest of the way to reach my 86 number, even though I kind of said like 80. I think I said like 85 to 87, but I kind of settled on 86. Which, do they have it in them? Yes. But I just want to, well, actually, so they're 7 out of the AL East. They are a game and a half out of the wild card behind the Astros and the Blue Jays. Sorry, so Astros and the Blue Jays, they're a game and a half behind. With each passing day, I'm more and more and more of a believer that the Red Sox are going to find a way to get into the postseason somehow. Which you have to give Alex Cora a lot of credit, because some people kind of made it seem like he was on the hot seat going into this season. They have gone above and beyond people's expectations. So I feel like Alex Cora has proven that he's a really good manager. Chaim Bloom was another guy who's been on a lot of Red Sox fans' radar going into this season. You got to give him credit for the job that he's done putting this team together. He moved Xander Bogaerts out in the past off season. A lot of Red Sox fans didn't like that. He paid Rafi Devers, which obviously the Red Sox fans loved. But looking at the Padres right now, the Padres are 50 and 54. They're in 4th place in the NL West. They're how many games out in the wild card? 6 games out of the wild card in the National League. So if you look at that, you'd say the Red Sox came out on top, even though I was a big Xander Bogaerts fan. I don't want to put all the Padres' issues on him. But the Padres are seen as a wagon going into this season. They've been anything but. The Red Sox were seen as kind of a doormat. Expected to finish last, which they still could. But I still think they're going to have a really good season behind it. It's just that the division has been crazy competitive this year, to the point where we could actually get 4 teams out of the AL East in the playoffs. The division winner and all 3 wildcard spots could come out of the AL East, which is wild to think. I mean, obviously the Astros are going to have something to say about that. That's probably it. Because looking at the AL wild card picture, it's the Rays, Blue Jays, Astros, Red Sox game and a half, Yankees 3.5 back, and then you get the Angels or whatever. Which, speaking of baseball, the Angels have come out and said they're not going to move Shohei Ohtani. Could be posturing. Maybe they have some magical plan up their sleeve and believe they can re-sign Shohei in the offseason. I don't know, but if I was the Angels, we've seen the Trout-Ohtani dynamic not work for seasons now, whether it's Trout getting injured every year seemingly now or whatever. The pitching staff not being up to par outside of Shohei. The batting order. There's a lot of deficiencies with the Angels. My worry would be the mega talent that Shohei is. If he re-signed with the Angels, how long does it take the Angels to put an actual contending team around him? And I feel like Shohei is probably thinking about that as well. I find it hard to believe he's going to be there past this season. And if that's the case, why wouldn't the Angels move him to get prospects, young players to kind of start their clock over again, go forward with whatever you bring in for him? But if the Angels want to keep Shohei, whatever. I'm not expecting some magical run from the Angels here in the last 60 games or so. Actually, how many games are left in the season? So the Red Sox have played 103. Okay, so there's 59 games left in the season. I don't think the Angels get a wild card spot. The division, I don't see them getting that either, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened, I guess. I just think the Angels would be making a major mistake if they don't move him. And the trade deadline is what, the first, which I believe is Tuesday. So between today, tomorrow, we might hear some rumors stirring up. But for right now, the Angels are telling people they're not moving him. So, like I said, come Tuesday, we'll see. Even if it's just around the trade deadline itself, that day is going to be, I guess, all the attention on Shohei and the Angels to see what they actually do. All right, so then before I get out of here, I do want to talk about Patrice Bergeron. I have to do this because he kind of ended, a lot of the speculation or a lot of the angst behind what he's going to do in terms of his future by announcing his retirement. And I mean, it was bound to happen. I was expecting him to retire. He's had a very long career. It's been up and down for sure. The highest of highs was him raising the Stanley Cup. What season was that? Well, some seasons ago when they beat the Canucks in the finals. Happy for him. That, I always felt like out of the captains in Boston, he might have been the most underappreciated from them because I guess the Bruins are the probably fourth in terms of popularity in Boston, behind, of course, Patriots, then probably Red Sox, then Celtics, and then the Bruins. But he's a guy who basically won the Selke every year to the point where they might as well just rename it the Patrice Bergeron Trophy. But yeah, I mean he was with the Bruins almost 20 seasons, which in a sport that's as demanding, as grueling, as physical as hockey is remarkable to begin with. And I was trying to pull up his stats to kind of give you perspective on like how good he really was, which obviously Bruins fans you already know. But hold on a second. Here we go. So he played just shy 1,300 games. He had over 400 goals of 427, over 600 assists, 613, plus minus of 289, over 1,000 points in his career. Like, that's a really, really good career. And for the most part, he was available over 70 games a season. Yeah. Just looking at his numbers: 71, 81, 77, 73, 80, 81. I mean, a lot of seasons playing almost every game. So, yeah, I just wanted to, shout out Patrice Bergeron. Great career. Hopefully, whatever he does post NHL, he finds some success in. It's going to be interesting to watch Bruins next year and not have that C on Bergeron. I mean, I guess Marchand becomes the captain. I don't know. But, I mean, probably because Marchand's the assistant. He had the A on his sweater. So you just move him to the C. Maybe Pasternak gets the A, or I don't know. But definitely a transition in Bruins hockey. I think it's going to continue because actually Krejci hasn't decided what he's going to do next. He could very well retire. He could go back overseas. I could see that. Marchand, we got him for probably a couple of more seasons, and then he might be gone. And at that point, that era would be over. But going forward, you got Pasternak and you have some other young players. So I don't think the Bruins will fall off a cliff or anything. But yeah, shout out to Patrice Bergeron. I felt like it was only fitting for me to end, the episode talking about him because he was a steady presence in Boston. The city loved him, of course, because you just knew what you're gonna get from him. And in Boston, cities up north, Boston, Philly, New York, cities like that, the tough guys will always earn fans' respect. Bergeron played playoff games with broken bones. I feel like he dealt with concussions in his career. He was just always battered and bruised. But on most nights, when you turned on a Bruins game, that number 37 was there at center ice for the opening faceoff. And that's something you just got to give him credit for. So shout out to you, Patrice Bergeron, on your retirement. I got to do this for him. Said only fitting. So, but yeah, with that, I guess I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for tuning in. If you didn't catch it live, it's all good. If you catch it after the fact, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, follow, share, all that great stuff. And then be on the lookout for the FIFA career mode. Now, if you want to see me live, go to my Twitch channel at Kaiser Gamer, which you'll see in the little graphic after I'm finished here. I'll come up with all my socials. Make sure you follow me over on Twitch. Having a lot of fun with the FIFA career mode. Starting to build a little bit of a community over there, so why not go ahead and join that? If you can't catch it live, it'll be over on YouTube a little after. But like I said, we'll probably go live later today and continue the journey with Chompin FC. Like I said, it's a really great series I got going on right now. Can't wait to see how it ends. Because like I said, I wanted to see how far I can get before EA Sports FC comes out. So I basically have 2 months left. And, still at League 2, but working our way to the Premier League. So remember, Kaizy Gamer 84, Kizzy Gamer 84 over on Twitch. Later today, I should be going live with FIFA 23, the career mode. So I guess if you're new, these podcasts, I'm gonna try to do like one live episode, either Saturday or Sunday, kind of recap a lot that's gone on in the week. I have the, Twitch streams that I'm trying to do within the week, at least 3. Sports Empire Network is where I am Monday nights at 6:30 for cheap seats. Tuesday nights at 7 for the Big 3. Then Thursday nights, pre-gaming pigskin, which during the football season, you definitely want to check out that show, as well as cheap seats in the Big 3. You can also find me over on JJL Sports Talk. We should be doing an episode some point this weekend as well. And I will definitely try to stream it to, my channels as well, because that is a new feature with these streaming platforms now, is that you can kind of stream it out if you're not the host. So, Smithster, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. I talked some soccer on here, but Smithster, I did say that I will be, I guess, back on the career mode later today. If you don't know, Smithster is definitely, somebody you should check out over on Twitch as well. A lot of energy with his streams. I definitely love it. He's brought some of his people over to mine. So, I got nothing but love for Smithster. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing with the channel right now. So hopefully you enjoy it. Like I said, hit the like button, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. But until next week, when I give you another Chompin' at the Bit episode, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. A lot of sports going on. So when you catch this, you can put down in the comment section as well. What are you watching this weekend? For me, there's some international friendlies I've been paying attention to. We got Women's World Cup going on. You got the TBT for basketball in the summer here. Got slam ball. You got big three. So there's a lot I'm paying attention to. Man, it's a slow time in terms of the major sports, but there's still something going on. So let me know in the comments what you're watching. But with that, I'm out of here. I'll see you later. Be safe out there. God bless, and I'll catch you next episode. I'm out.